Hi, welcome to Gotta Ping, a careers podcast you should listen to if you want to grow your career online and offline. Hi, my name is Mei Ping, and I'm a professional career coach and international speaker with more than a decade of experience at some of the biggest companies in the world. To learn more about what I do, visit meiping.com. That's meiping.com. All right, let's jump right into today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my Gotta Ping podcast, a podcast that you should listen to if you want to grow your career. So welcome back to my 30-day client success story series, where I'll be sharing with you guys some of the top client achievements and transformations from really overcoming their challenges and problems at the workplace or even in their job search process, and to be able to move forward and focus on career advancement. So I'll be sharing stories along challenges and problems faced by my clients in their day-to-day working environment, or for those of them who are looking for a certain promotion or something that allows them to level up in their career. And lastly, of course, I'll also be sharing stories of challenges that my clients face with getting new career and job opportunities, and some of the things that we focused on in our coaching sessions to allow them to capture the opportunities and capture those career opportunities that I think they really deserve, because they really have the core competencies already. All right, so in today's story, I want to share with you a story of one of my clients who managed to transition from a small company, so a small locally owned, family orientated sort of company, to a global multinational company. So for this particular client, actually, I worked with her from the interview stage, but that one I'll leave it to another episode. But in today's episode, I just want to really focus on the transition from a small company to a big company. What are some of the things that she didn't quite expect and turned out to be a little bit of a culture shock? And more importantly, right, some of the things that we work together to make sure that she could transition seamlessly, and what are really the core skills that you will need if you are making such a transition in your career. So again, this is a transition from a small company to a global multinational company that is a really, really huge brand, and really is the dream job for a lot of people. So just a bit of background on my client. My client is in the branding and marketing space, and she has been doing pretty well in her existing job at that time. But of course, right, for people who are ambitious, professionals who are very ambitious, moving up to the next level and wanting to join a bigger brand, a bigger company, definitely is on their ambition list. And this is really the same with my client as well. So she successfully transitioned, but while after the first 1 or 2 weeks of excitement of joining the new company died down, she is then faced with this problem of, how do I make sure that I operate, or rather I work in a way that fits the MNC, because I am so used to the ad hoc, last minute habits, haphazard habits that tend to happen in a small company or a kind of a family oriented sort of company, where processes, frameworks and guidelines may not necessarily be the most important focus, but the most of the times in a small company, it's just like, as long as you get the job done, nobody really questions you. Nobody really thinks about the long-term sustainability of things. They just want work done. So that was actually a habit that she developed over the 2 years of working with this small company. And the moment she joined the big company, she realized that, oh, I cannot operate like this, because it actually creates a lot of confusion and could create misunderstanding with her bosses. And the other thing she also realized is that, in a big company, you need a lot of planning, and a lot of expectation and alignment are really done at the front. And that was something that she was just not really familiar with, because it was never really the focus in the small company. So when she came to me, I think frustration is one thing, but I'd say that the bigger issue that she told me was confusion. So she is confused as to how she is supposed to behave, because she was definitely the top performer in her previous company. She had really strong communication skills, problem solving skills. So actually her core competencies were really great. But right now, she is starting to doubt herself and starting to feel confused, because she then asked me, oh, maybe like what made me do well in my previous job? I'm not sure if like I can still do the same thing here, because in this new company, everything's a lot more structured, and I find that sometimes things may not be so direct, because there are more hierarchy, there are more people involved, and she's starting to sense a little bit of politics, but not too much, because she is still in a fairly junior position. So for this client, the way I approach our coaching sessions is really sharing about my own corporate insights and experiences, and how things are actually done in the real corporate world. So these are probably the kind of things that, if you have been working in the corporate world for some time, or you have been in management or leadership positions, then I think you can really experience that perspective. Otherwise, you probably get a bunch of theories from YouTube videos or your friends, which sounds idealistic, but actually doesn't. These things don't exactly happen in the corporate world. So really had to work around. For her, I really had to focus on how to communicate in a way that generates win-win relationship, and more importantly, also focus on actually planning her work upfront and communicating with her boss, aligning expectations. Those were really like the most important things that need to be sorted out, because these are really, really the foundation. So she was already a really good communicator to begin with, and that made my work a little bit easier. But even though she was a good communicator, she wasn't used to communicating about, the end to end of like how a project or a campaign is supposed to work out, because that was not something that she was doing at the workplace, in her previous job. And so what needed to go in was really a lot of structure and phases in her communication method. So I really had to bring her back and really go back the umbrella view of understanding, okay, actually what you're trying to achieve. The other thing also is that, because if you guys have worked in corporate for some time, and depending on how senior your boss is, sometimes you find that your bosses may not be very direct, and you need to really learn some skills to be able to identify the intention of what they're saying, and also to be able to identify concerns that may or may not come across very clearly. So that was definitely something that I had to teach her as well, because she did tell me that her boss consistently came to her and asked if she needed help, and she basically took that session as just a complaint session, where she ended up complaining about all these things that she hasn't learned or she couldn't do well, and yada yada yada. So what I told her is that I think you just need to be very careful, because yes, your boss is offering support, but guess what? Most bosses actually want to see that you have put in effort and you have actually taken action. So the way that, of constantly complaining, while your boss may listen to you, but the impression that you are setting out to your boss may not necessarily be a positive thing. And I say this for sure, because I used to be in that boss's position. I used to be in the head of department, right, senior director management position. And I can tell you that most leaders and managers at that level probably operate pretty similarly, and we probably think, and our viewpoints of what works from a portfolio management or team management standpoint, a lot of these concepts are fairly similar, because that was how we managed to rise up as well, and these are things that we have already gone through. So those were some of the insights that I was really able to give her some perspective on, because definitely it's not something that she was able to pick up in her previous job. Even though she was top performer, even though she was a high performer, it's just not in the nature of the culture of her previous job to do things in a certain way. So with that, I think the biggest change that I'm seeing with this client, and we're still working together, I think is the mindset shift of really embracing the new working methods. And this sometimes for a lot of people may not be very easy, particularly if you have done well in your previous job, or you have spent some time, quite a long time in your previous job, that you're just so used to the culture, you're so used to the way that things are done, right, rightly or wrongly. where you will not really focus so much on efficiency or effectiveness anymore. You're just so used to status quo because things were just done that way. So the main, I think, breakthrough, right, or rather mindset shift for my clients, that she was able to recognize that, okay, even though for the past 2 years I did really well in that small company, but if I want to do well in this MNC, I need to start fresh. I need to start from a beginner's mindset, because even though I did well in the past, but not in this kind of skill, not in a company of this size, not in this kind of scope of responsibility that is actually way bigger than my previous job. So I'm really proud of her, because that kind of like mindset shift, and especially for those who have done well, it's not easy for them to say that, oh, okay, I'm going to start from the beginning, because there's just a lot of things that I don't know. So sometimes, the humility of recognizing what you don't know is really the secret formula, or like the magic sauce, the secret sauce that allows you to learn more and advance. Because the moment you say that you know everything, especially at the beginning part of your career, right, you've only worked for 2 years, how much do you really, really, really know? I mean, let's be honest here. So with that, I think I'm just really proud of her that she's really able to overcome that kind of mindset. And also she's been telling me that, okay, I'm just learning and absorbing as much as possible. If I don't know, I try to ask as many questions as possible. So I think with her, right, my main role as a coach for her is to help her navigate through the differences, right, in culture and expectations, and also providing her with insights on what the real corporate world looks like. And I think that's so valuable, because it's very easy to give a bunch of theories on what happens in the corporate world. But I think until you reach a certain level in your career and you have been in the leadership and management positions before, then a lot of it makes better sense. Otherwise, right, otherwise it's just going to be a bunch of theories that actually, nowadays, like, there are more people talking about what should happen in corporate, and they're just giving their opinions without actually being in these leadership positions. So so definitely really, really proud of her. And that's it for the story. And I do hope that the main takeaway that you learn from this story, and get inspired and empowered from this my client success stories, to it's okay to begin again. So I'm not saying discounting what you have done and what you have achieved in the past, but I'm just saying that it is okay to always start again, because it is the kind of beginner's mindset that really allows you to grow more, because you are now opening your mind to learn more and more and more things that can help you in your future career. And I think that is really, really important. Okay, so I hope today's client success story really inspires you and also empowers you to also begin with a beginner's mindset, a fresh mindset, to look at your problems, look at your goals, look at your challenges in a completely new way, and of course, finding innovative solutions that really work for you. So with that, I wish you all the best in your career, and I'll see you in another episode. Cheers, bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. For more awesome content like this, remember to like and subscribe. Also, head on over to my website, meiping.com, that's meiping.com, and subscribe to my weekly newsletter for more career growth and personal development tips. You can find the links in the description box below. Once again, you're listening to Gotta Ping, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!